The next album on the list is from a somewhat more known artist than Manny Chao. I don't know, Kyle. I don't know if you'd heard of them before this project, but this is from a band from the UK. This album is called "Some Girls from the Rolling Stones."
Hmm.
So, sorry, the Rolling Stones. Yeah, um, "Some Girls from the Rolling Stones." I think
Didn't they
you've heard
make
of
didn't
him.
they make this list that we're listening to?
Oh yeah, that's right. Um, ha ha ha. Um, the Rolling Stones released "Some Girls" on June 9th, 1978, from Pathé Marconi Studios in Paris. It's 40 minutes and 45 seconds long on Rolling Stones label, self-produced. Well, not self-produced, sorry, self-released. Producer the Glimmer Twins, who that is a name that I'm not familiar with that I want to know more about.
That's
The Glimmer Twins.
that's Keith Richards and Mick Jagger. Like that's their
Then there
writing.
we go.
Yeah, that's their writing name.
So they owned this altogether. Good for you for knowing that. I didn't know that. That'll be on Jeopardy someday. Um, yeah, this album. I mean, it's a Rolling Stones record, but it's definitely different too. What are your impressions of this album?
Hey, it's Kyle. Just jumping in real quick to ask, do you approve this groove? Let us know in the comments. Give us a quick thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation. So, I before I get too far into this album in particular, how wild is it that it's 2025 and the Rolling Stones apparently put out an album last year that I didn't even know existed, and they won the freaking best rock album Grammy in 2025. Like, yeah,
What?
yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
The Rolling Stones won the best rock album Grammy in 2025. I don't even know. I off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you the name of the album. I didn't even know they put out an album anytime recently. But
I'm dying to know who else was nominated in the category right now.
I forget. I
But
remember
yeah,
like
they won the
Idols.
Grammy for Best Rock Album. I've heard of Idols.
Yeah,
Huh. Anyways, keep going. I'm gonna
yeah,
look that up as
yeah.
you tell us about this.
But I mean, this album, Some Girls, it had some big hits, right? Like
Hmm.
my I appreciate the Rolling Stones from like their earlier eras when they were a lot more bluesy, rocky. And this was not that really. Like this album, they took a lot of influences from a lot of other places. Like that Miss You is probably, I certainly, just by Imagination, which was a Temptations cover, that was on this album. Beast of Burden, Shattered, like those are all big songs from this album. But Miss You is, you know, probably one of their bigger songs, and it's basically a disco song. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's very obvious that they took a lot of influence from a lot of different places on this album, and it like I don't want to say it didn't work, but it didn't like drive me up the wall. Like I just was like, all right, it's cool. I mean, I like Keith Richards kind of riffy guitar work. I've never really cared for Mick Jagger's voice. It's
Yep.
not my thing. Um, Charlie Watts is the best part of the Rolling Stones. Like he is an unsung hero in rock music.
Hmm.
He was a phenomenal jazz drummer, and the work that he did with the Rolling Stones undersold how talented of a drummer he was. Um, but this album in general, like it was just it was okay. I don't know.
Yeah. I this is another one of those albums where the hits are the hits,
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned. I mean, those songs are. And what I thought was interesting is like "Beast of Burden" is. I mean, it's a universal song, but it's. I also thought it was interesting that it. I mean, it's the ninth track on the song or on the album, and then "Shattered" is one that got played on classic radio or gets played on classic radio quite a bit. It's a to me kind of a goofy sounding song. But that's also the 10th song on this album. So there's a lot of stuff in the middle. like Miss You is the lead off track, and it starts really strong. And then there's stuff in the middle that I had not heard of. 'Cause again, I didn't grow up in a house where we were playing like Rolling Stones records, so I heard what was on classic rock radio. Um, my first thought when I listened to this, I was driving around with my daughter in Florida trying to find gas, and my first notes to myself were like, "This sounds like the Rolling Stones are trying to do like a country album." And I think it's because it's some of those songs in the middle. There's some of that twanging guitar and
Yeah, for
some
sure.
storytelling and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then a couple weeks ago, I put it on again um, when I was playing Mario Kart, um, as you do. And some girls came on, and I actually had the chance to listen to it, and I heard the lyrics, and I was like, "Boy, this does not age well." Um, and what's funny is that some girls has an explicit marking next to it, um, and man, cancel culture missed Mick. Good for him, because I mean there are some sweeping sexist generalizations about whole races of women, ethnicities of women in general, and it was like I just remember thinking I was like, why would you write that song? Like I don't. I mean, maybe he was just in an "fu," like I can say what I want kind of mood. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be
It's
interested. And but it's the title track. Like so
yeah.
obviously there
Not
was some
just
thought in it.
not just something that they slipped in the record somewhere, but like it's
Right.
like
There's
drawing
some
attention
thought
right
to
to
it.
it.
Absolutely. I don't know. It was interesting. Yeah, some of the notes on here say that, in the in the mid 60s the Rolling Stones were on a decline, disco and pop songs were kind of starting to take over. Um so it seems like they tried to kind of bridge the gap a little bit,
Hmm.
give the people what they want sort of stuff. This is their 14th studio album, which is pretty nuts. Um, yeah, I mean, there's controversy around its cover artwork, work and lyrical content at the time, even. But it was a commercial success, peaking at number two in the UK and number one in the US. Um, became the band's top-selling album in the US. 6 million copies, so that's 6 times platinum in the US. So when you think about like the Rolling Stones, the first songs that come to mind from the Rolling Stones, East of Burden might be one of them.
Hmm.
Um, I think for me, it's probably You Can't Always Get What You Want. That's the
Hmm.
song that I would probably think of as the Rolling Stones first, or
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like those were big songs on other albums that didn't sell as well. This album sold really well, and it says that this was their rebound after an album that's probably not on the list, called Black and Blue, and then this was credited with kind of bringing them back. It became the only Rolling Stones album to be nominated for a Grammy Award in the Album of the Year category. And as obviously for the reason we're talking about it, it's listed on this list and others.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was interesting. This is probably one of the bigger names um, that we've heard from, and
So far,
and
yeah.
a band that like we know will be on the list again
Yeah.
for other things. Um, so I don't know. It was a weird thing to just kind of digest for me, anyways. 'Cause again,
Yeah.
the songs I know are so good, and the others are just okay.
Just yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head though when you were saying that it it was kind of an album that they did to give the people what they want, to meet the audience where they were at this time in the mid to late 70s with the pop and disco and that sort of thing. And I mean that's probably some sort of reason why it was so successful. I mean,
Yeah,
they gave the people what they wanted.
yeah, and I wonder. There's also a good chance that the idea of any publicity is good publicity. As I was reading about this album, caught the attention of the Reverend Jesse Jackson
Hmm.
for the lyrical content of some girls who
Oh,
said that this song is a racial insult. Um, so I wonder, and I mean, and the band is, which you probably wouldn't be surprised about. Mick Jagger himself didn't really like shy away from that or apologize. He's quoted as saying, "As I've always said, if you can't take a joke, it's too effing bad." Um, so, I suppose that there's some degree of, yo, did you hear this new Rolling Stones record? Like they said, so this song is crazy. Like,
yeah.
and so people bought it just to
Yeah.
experience it. Because again, if they weren't playing that song on the radio, which it's entirely a song that they didn't play that song on the radio, the only way you're going to hear it back there was
It's,
I'm buying the LP.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the
You
only way to do it.
didn't pull it up on Spotify.
It wasn't trending audio on TikTok, so um, and probably a good thing about that. Yeah, we talked about kind of some of the sales already. Um, it definitely did the best in the U.S., as many of the albums on the list do. Um, but on the charts around the world in 1978, from the countries that are listed, its lowest ranking for peak position was 11th in Finland and Japan. All of the other spots it charted in the top 10 single digits, including, as we mentioned, I think in the US at number one on the Billboard 200. Number one in Canada, number two in the UK. Like, I mean, this was an album that moved some units and had some spins on the old radio. I think led by its singles, but again, probably spurned on by some of the controversy. What did you give this record?
A three. I mean, I
Yeah.
respect the hell out of it for some of those huge hits that it has.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely had some misses as well. I don't think we're ever going to escape some of those songs. Some of those songs are going to be around forever. So
I would probably give it a 3 2, maybe a 3.5, just because those three songs that we've talked about specifically are pretty good. I have a weird relationship with the Rolling Stones. And mom, if you ever listen to this, I hope you'll laugh. Um, I've always thought that my maternal grandmother like looked like Mick Jagger. Um, and I don't know why. Like it's unkind to say because she didn't exactly, but in my mind, when I was younger, she had a similar haircut and she smoked a lot and she was pretty skinny and like that's really where it ended. But to a young, like maybe 6 year old, like
hmm
I was like, my grandmother looks like Mick Jagger. So so I've always just kind of like I don't know, like I've always thought of them as like a weird sort of like just connection in my brain. It's I don't know, it's just weird. So I've never been a huge Rolling Stones fan. I don't know, it's just weird. Anyways, shout out Grandma Vicky. Um, yeah. Anything we didn't talk about with this one?
No, I think we covered it.
We covered it. That was Some Girls from the Rolling Stones in at 468.
Hey, thanks for watching. We'd love to know what you think of this album, so let us know in the comments. Do you approve this groove? And as always, a quick thumbs up helps a lot. Subscribe so you can see all 500 albums, and we'll see you on the next record.